Great. Morning, everybody. Welcome to the November 2nd Government Operations Committee meeting. Let's see, changes to the agenda. We got word that our assessment director, Jay Franklin, won't be able to be here. He's going to give us an update next month. So we will cross that off the list. Any other changes to the agenda? Comments from the public? I don't see anybody. Let's do the minutes of October 5th. Can somebody, Susan moves those. Rich, do you want to second the minutes? Thank you. Any questions or comments on the minutes or changes? All right, all in favor? Mike, how do you vote on the minutes?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. It's a little early to get started here. Okay, let's jump right in with a resolution for the county clerk. Can I have someone move the resolution to amend resolution number 2023-6 of January 17th, 2023, determination and certification of county clerk's allowance, annual expenses for administering mortgage tax, ID 12006. Rich, seconded by Susan. And questions, comments? Rich?
I was just curious how these were calculated. It looked like the treasurer was doing less than 2%, and I assume the growth in expense was at least 2%.
So I thought it was 4%. I thought we did a 4% increase.
Oh, wait, maybe I'm doing my math wrong.
Okay.
Oh, you're right. Okay. Is that how you did it? You did 4%? Okay. Okay, thanks.
Other questions or comments? All right, let's vote. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, we have quite a few resolutions from administration and legislature and some various discussion topics. So hopefully we will have lots of time to get through all of this. First resolution, can someone please move budget adjustment county administration website software ID 11989? Rich, seconded by Susan. Thank you. This is the one that we talked about at budget, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so this was, we had talked about at our expanded budget committee spending some additional funds on the website upgrade, but thanks to our administration, we realized there was some funding in another budget line and that we could shift over.
Correct.
Okay. Does everyone remember that conversation? Rich?
I did have a question. Is this, and this is front-loading the question I'm going to have on the next resolution, but is this one-time money or is this a subscription? Will this be repeating?
I believe this is the conversion.
Yep.
Correct. So it's one time, and
Okay.
the annual costs will be lower.
The annual cost is also nearly the same as our existing website contract. So
And
there's,
that's in the 2024 budget?
yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Other questions? All right, I guess we're ready to vote. All in favor? Thank you. That's unanimous. Okay, next one, budget adjustment, county administration budget software, ID 11987. Rich? Susan, seconds, thank you. Questions, comments, any Rich?
Now I have my question. This is a subscription, so I assume this is going on. Do we have money in the 2024 budget to pay for this?
Yes.
On an ongoing basis? Okay.
Okay, anything else? All right, all in favor? That's unanimous, thank you. All right, now we can get into some policies. And I should have noted that Legislator Klein can't be here today, but he did send an email and he had a couple comments. So at a couple points, I will share some of the things that he said. So the first one is the policy resolution to update the administrative policy manual, policy 01-55, publication of county data, ID 12025. Rich, seconded by Susan. Thank you. So I guess this is a new policy,
Yep.
and I guess I'll let you speak to it, and then if people have questions, we can go there.
Certainly. Thank you. Yeah, this is a new policy following a significant amount of research and engagement across the organization. You can see that this is sort of based on our belief in transparency and ease of public access to data. There has been a significant uptick in the number of employees working on data publication across our different departments. That looks different for all different types of departments. So I can go into detail if needed, but it looked like it was time for the county to set some guidelines and support systems around the publication of that data. So this will help departments to understand what types of data that they should be looking to report, how to do so, and how to sort of look through the lens of our sort of guidelines based on some federal guidelines around data publication as well. Most of the details are in there. I'll answer any other questions that are asked, but the other thing I'll add is that we asked all of the departments to let us know which employees work currently on publication of data, and we've pulled them together for 4 convenings so far. ITS was involved as well, asking those individuals to participate in the drafting and editing of this policy. So nearly between 30 and 50 showed up to each meeting, employees. So there's quite a few people who are working on this across all of our different departments, and they're very excited for this. The next steps for administration after, if this policy moves forward, will be to, make sure that our training and tools and resources are diffused throughout the organization consistently.
Questions? Susan?
I don't have a question. I just want to say I think this is really excellent because I think employees are always wondering, can I share this? So having guidelines like this and training is really important. So kudos.
Thank you.
Mike?
I wanted to ask Lisa, I think you're our Freedom of Information Officer. How will this help or hinder you?
Well, I think it will help by ensuring that our employees are aware that what data is public and what format in which the data is made public. So I don't see it as a hindrance. I see it, we are operating now, and employees across the organization, departments are sharing data in different formats and through different means, and I think that this just helps us all be on the same page in terms of the guidelines and the formatting and what is helps us be better stewards of the data. So I don't see it as a hindrance.
Could I go on? The other question I would have, maybe this is for Don. Freedom of Information requests, thinking about, we get a lot of complaints regarding social services, foster care and that kind of stuff. And I'm wondering how that confidential information continues to be confidential in that department? Is this just telling the department you don't have to release anything or regarding these confidential matters, or how does it work?
So this policy outlines the publication of aggregated data. So the FOIL policy, or the access to records policy, still exists and is unaffected by this. So, and this does say that some requests for data that might come through under this policy would be redirected to the FOIL officer and redirected to the system that you're speaking of. The aggregated data that would be affected by this will play itself out in things like annual reports, dashboards. It would use a system like our OpenGov system, and maybe the way that you viewed a pie chart for our budget. That might be a pie chart of TANF cases by month, right? Similar to the types of graphs that Lisa presents in the budget presentation each year that has some aggregated social services data to talk about the wider systems view. This would support the work on those types of data publication. The individual records requests would continue to be redirected to the FOIL system as it exists and is already under policy in the county.
Thank you.
Dan had a question, which I also had. So on packet page 21, at the top, it talks about naming a data officer. Who will that person be? And
let
what
Lisa
exactly will they do?
speak a little more to that.
So it would be the naming of an existing county employee. It would not be a new position, and I think structurally it makes sense that someone in administration, and namely our communications director, would be named the data officer, because it has to do more with the publication of data than the technical aspects of producing the data.
And would that add a lot of time and work to the position?
Being that with the new website, the website migration and redesign, that the bulk of that work is going to be on Dominic's portfolio. I think it would go hand in glove, and that's in part why his position would be chosen.
Other questions, comments? All right, let's vote. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dominic.
Thanks.
Okay, next policy, resolution to update the Administrative Policy Manual, Policy 01-54, Center for History and Culture Tenant and Lease Policy, ID 12005. Somebody move that. Rich, thank you. Mike seconds, thank you. You want to talk to this?
This policy came about in conversation with the director of the History Center during budget time, noting that when the Center for History and Culture came about, there were many people involved in determining who would lease the space there, and that those tenants have remained relatively stable throughout the years. But then if there are shifts or openings, the History Center director was looking for guidelines as to how to determine who was a good fit, and, you know, has certainly ideas, but it's county space. So this policy came about to set some guidelines and provide insight as to who would be making those determinations and on what basis.
Great. Questions?
Oh, Dan had a comment on this.
Yeah, Dan had a couple of things. Let's see, packet page 24, section 2. There we go. Selection, 2B, sorry. Selection of tenants of the Tompkins Center for History and Culture shall be at the discretion of the county administrator or their designee. Dan is suggesting that we add in consultation with the county legislature. So does that make sense? Do we want to make an amendment that states that?
I thought it made sense. We're going to live with the tenant, so we should give the blessing.
So I guess my question then, is it that? Is it consultation with, going with what the administrator says, or is the administrator asking for approval?
That would be, I guess, that would be my request, that if it should be one or the other.
Right, not sort of
Not
nebulous.
The consultation makes it a little nebulous.
Right.
I think it's okay for us to approve. I don't think we're going to have big arguments about this,
Right.
but it is something we should probably say, yes, we want this.
To approve each leasee. You kind of said, and then I'll get to Mike, but there hasn't been a lot of turnover so far. Yeah. Mike?
How have we been renting up until now? Weren't we consulting with the management at the History Center on this, or that relation not continue? And do we really want to, every time a new lease comes up over there, do we want to have to approve it at the county legislature? I don't really see that.
Sounds like it's not that often.
Well, yeah, but it could be.
I don't know, folks. Rich?
Yeah, I would add a provision in 3C1 to say, including receiving input from the present tenants, because it is a collective, and part of the reason we've set up the center was for them to share common services. So the idea is that they work together. They'll share copiers and common spaces, and so they need to get along. But I, having been the liaison to over there, there's a real waiting list. And in fact, I talked to Ben yesterday about this policy. I don't think we're going to see a lot of turnover. These not-for-profits are in a really nice place. We've created something really good for them. So I don't see there will be a lot of turnover. So I'm okay with having us approve tenants because I don't think it's going to be burdensome or controversial when they come in. But I would add in 3C1 that we make it explicit. The county administrator would be doing that anyway because you work with the director of the History Center, but I think it's okay to say it, my view.
So say that again. So 3C1, tenant selection and approval process. Determine a potential tenant is in the common interest of the Tompkins County Center for History and Culture.
Including receiving input from the present tenants.
How would that work?
That would be up to the county administrator. Basically, she'd talk to
Okay.
the director of the History Center, who's the connection point.
Okay. Does that make sense to you?
I think so. I think that the current director has a relationship with each of the tenants and would be able to do that fairly easily.
And there's a governance council
Right.
of all the members that meets on a periodic basis. I attend those meetings sometimes, so that they work out, how they're going to do things in collaboration.
One of Dan's comments was also that particular section, and he included just adding "and Tompkins County Government." So I don't know if that gets at the same thing, like in consultation with.
I mean, if we're approving the lease, I think we would,
Right.
we're already there. But we could say it twice. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, if what your phrase does is what we're implying, then I think that makes sense.
I noted Dan's comment here, and I think that we did leave off the common interests within the tenants, but also of the county. So I think we could include that.
Potential tenant is in the common interest of the Tompkins Center for History and Culture in consultation with present tenants and TC government? Okay. All right, you got that, Brittany? Did we make an amendment for the, is that an amendment? I guess that's an amendment, but
I moved, it would be friendly to me.
it seems friendly. Did you second? Yeah. And then what about the previous one? I don't think we actually made an amendment.
That would be friendly as well.
Okay, also in consultation with the county legislature in section 2B.
That one's not friendly to me.
Okay.
Second one we just talked about is fine.
Okay, so 2B, we were going to add, at the discretion of the county administrator with approval from,
To be approved by.
approved by the county legislature. All right, you would second that? Okay. Any other discussion on that amendment? All in favor? That's 3, opposed, that's 1, so that passes. You got that one, Brittany?
Got it wrong. It was 3 approve.
Oh.
Unopposed.
It's still early for me.
You read that, it goes at the end of B, correct?
That is, yeah, at the discretion of the county administrator or their designee, in accordance with the policy, in consultation, or what did you say?
To be approved by.
To be approved by the Tompkins County Legislature.
Thank you.
Okay.
I had a couple other comments.
Sure, go ahead.
I looked through the application documents noted in 3C, 3A, and B, and I'm wondering, do we really need those? We didn't do that for any of the existing tenants, and these documents seem to, I mean, they protect the county in a way in that you would not want to introduce a tenant that would challenge the not-for-profit status of the, or tax-exempt status of the building. But I think you get at that if the organization can demonstrate they're a 501c3. I think you've already gotten there. These seem pretty burdensome, but I want to step back. I don't want to be a lawyer about this, and I'm always tempted. So I just asked the question. And I guess I'll stop there, and then I have a couple other comments.
Mike?
Well, the policy, particularly in D, has a lot of reasons why a not-for-profit could be denied, excuse me, could be denied the lease. So I don't think asking for the landlord asking for information is a bad thing, particularly if why are they leaving where they are? Maybe they have been evicted, for example. Maybe they haven't been able to pay the rent. We've seen instances with not-for-profits that the county has had a financial interest in giving money to that have not been particularly well run and have been close to having to dissolve or other things. So I guess I'm not seeing, Rich, your problem with a lengthy application.
Well, I mean, bureaucracy's great, I guess, but the second document seemed to be if treating the not-for-profit as the owner of the property, and they're not. So I don't know if that one necessarily helps us very much. We can have them fill it out, but yeah, it just struck me as I didn't know that we needed to do this.
Yeah, Susan.
I've seen it a lot of times, not-for-profits. Everybody starts out happy in a shared space, and they all think nothing will ever go wrong, and then it does. So I see these, it may seem like overkill, but I think if anything should happen, it gives you some protection. So I think they're good.
Okay.
I've been in shared spaces where, they go through cycles. I don't know why, but where everything seems to work and then it doesn't. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you entirely on that. But this really just goes to the tax exempt status, which I think you establish with 501c3. But we can leave it there.
Yeah, I mean, did you have any thoughts on that, Lisa, on the necessity of all these forms?
I usually look to the advice of our risk manager and attorney on these types of things, so. And we have
Thoughts,
a number
Holly?
of them here.
I mean, me personally, I prefer to cover all bases at all times. But as Lisa just said, there may be requirements that are known to Jesse with regard to compliance and risk management that I'm not aware of that make these forms more important. Then I understand, you don't want it to be burdensome on potential tenants and whatnot, but I think we always look to protect ourselves. I mean, that's what the job of an attorney is. So I always go with, whatever forms are necessary.
It's interesting that an attorney is suggesting we do away with them.
I think there's a faster way to get there, but I'm happy. Let's keep them. We'll have them. We don't fill out the forms; they do.
Yeah, right.
So we're pushing it onto them. I do have a couple other comments.
Okay, I think Lisa had one other thought on that, or? No, that's okay. Okay, all right, go ahead.
Number C4. I don't know if we want to make that an absolute. Potential tenant shall be in business for a minimum of 2 years. Part of what we were trying to do in forming the center was to be an incubator and to be innovative with community needs. And this is a way to introduce a new organization. If one pops into being, I like the idea of organizations having some presence and operating gravitas before we give them a lease, but I don't know if we want to set it in stone. And that goes to my other comment about D. We make those automatically, and part of the reason we wanted to do the center and set it up this way is that there might be a really good not-for-profit that has screwed up, that they mismanage things and they get into financial trouble. This would preclude them from being able to be housed there. And what we're trying to do is to create a great environment for useful not-for-profits. I would either take out D, because it seems like we're addressing a lot of those issues in C anyway, or take out that we're making it automatic, that just call them factors or something. But, say one example is the organizations are sharing bookkeeping functions, which when you think about it, that makes tremendous good sense rather than them all going out and trying to find their own bookkeeper. But if you have an organization that has not had good bookkeeping, you know what happens? They screw up. And so I want it to be an open door with safeguards rather than a closed door.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Well, I don't think I agree with that. If there was a special case like Rich is talking about, then I think we could make an exception to the policy through a resolution of the legislature. But I wouldn't want to take out automatic denial for required liability insurance requirements cannot be met, for example. We really need to protect the county with things like that. So I guess I wouldn't want to see those gone.
Okay.
That's already present in C10, so that you would ask your county administrator to exercise judgment. If there's somebody that can't get insurance, I think you'd exercise a judgment and say, what are you doing? Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
I just want to ask, is this the first time I remember when the center was set up, is this the first renewal of all of the leases, or is this the first review of this?
This policy didn't exist before now.
Okay, so this is a new policy that we're
But
establishing?
there have been renewals.
Okay, just wondering. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, to your couple of points, Rich, I think I would agree with the first one, C4. There may be a new organization that, maybe it's only been around for 9 months, but they have all the other requirements, and I wouldn't want to preclude them necessarily if somebody's been working out of their basement and they are in a position to start renting. So that one I would be interested in changing, but I tend to agree with the others to keep D, just in an abundance of caution.
Can we take it out the word automatic?
I mean,
'Cause
sure.
then there is no judgment.
Yeah.
If it's automatic.
Yeah. Right, those would be,
Factors.
right, guidelines. I don't know.
That would be all right with me if it just said applicants will be denied for the following reasons.
Okay,
That's what a policy,
excuse me.
the policy would,
Will or can?
if we just take out the word automatically, I'm just reading, applicants will be denied for the following reasons.
How about applicants can be denied for the following reasons? Because will essentially keeps, it's automatic there anyway. I mean,
Well, will isn't shall.
may, that we're giving guidance to the county administrator on what they bring to us. But the county legislature could disapprove it too if they looked at it and said, this is too risky.
Thoughts on can be denied? Wait, okay, first, do we want to take out automatically?
Yeah.
Okay, we're taking out automatically. I think that's friendly.
I liked may. Is that what you said, may be denied? Yeah, because it gives you some discussion room.
Okay. Is that friendly? Is that friendly to you, Mike?
Okay.
Today he's friendly.
Denied. Okay, and then what about the 2, excuse me, the 2 years idea? Do we want to make an amendment for that?
We could say potential tenant should be in business. So there's wiggle room there as well.
Okay, all right. Should be. All right, other questions or comments? I think we got it all. Let's vote. All in favor? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. All right. Next policy. Can someone please move resolution to update the administrative policy manual, policy 05-04, fund balances, ID 12004. Mike moves that. Oh,
I want to raise an issue first.
okay, go ahead.
This has been talked about in budget.
Yeah.
And I really think budget ought to look at this before GO does. That's my thoughts here.
Okay.
Budget meets, I think it's on our agenda for Monday,
Is
isn't
it
it?
next week, I think we meet?
But I really,
Is
Oh,
it on
it's-
the agenda?
Well, we don't have the agenda yet.
Agenda hasn't been set yet for that meeting, but
The
it's
13th.
scheduled to go to the 13th.
Yeah, I would maybe tend to agree, because we have talked about it a lot in a number of places. Is there an urgency for us to do this first, or could it go to budget and then come to us next month?
Then I would move to postpone this until our next meeting.
Okay. Is postpone or, yeah, is that right? Katrina? Do we need to do that, or can we just remove it and then, because it hasn't been moved yet. We haven't moved
I guess
through it.
that's your discretion.
Yeah.
You can remove it as chair, and we'll just put it on
Yeah,
December.
let's just go ahead and remove it. And then several of us are in the budget committee, so we will talk about it there. Okay, any other thoughts on that? All right, well, that took off 20 minutes of conversation. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right. Okay, resolution recommendation of adoption of 2024 countywide shared services plan, ID 12027. Can somebody move that? Rich, seconded by Susan. Thank you. Okay.
I'm going to invite Bridget to speak on this as she's been leading this effort.
Thank you. Good morning. So as you all are well aware, we've been making our way through the 2024 Shared Services Plan development process. And this is the next to last step in the plan development process by which the legislature receives 30 days to review the plan, provide their input, and vote to recommend the Shared Service Panel's endorsement or adoption of the plan. The Shared Services Panel is scheduled to meet Monday, December 11th. That will be the final meeting where we'll collect their votes. So this would give the requisite 30 days time frame and will be scheduled for the first meeting of the legislature in December to have the final vote. So it will go to GEO, I believe Public Safety, and we'll be open to hearing your input and feedback on the plan itself.
Okay, great, thank you. Questions, comments? Rich?
I support the resolution, but I do have questions about this intertwined issue of trying to figure out cost share. And Bridget, do you have a sense of how we can go about getting consensus with the towns, or how we ask and figure out whether we have consensus with the towns? Because it seems like this is a pretty turbulent discussion.
I would agree that it's turbulent. I'm not sure that the timing has been difficult because the towns are either in the process of or have already adopted their 2024 budgets. So I would turn to Lisa to get further input on this, but I'm not sure we would get consensus on cost sharing for 2024.
Yeah, I think that this, what we have done, what the county has acted to do thus far through the budget process and through the grants that we're applying for, is position ourselves to cover the costs of the program in 2024, hopefully through the grants and through half of it being in target, the other half in contingency, to allow us the time throughout 2024 to work that out with the towns and approach that with the towns and achieve consensus on the legislature about the approach that we want to take, and then take those next steps with the towns.
I guess my fear is that we will get to 2024, there'll be tremendous pressure to start this service, which makes a lot of sense to do, but we will trap ourselves into the county just paying for it all. And that concerns me, in that for not just financial reasons, I think 2025 is going to be worse than 2024 in terms of what the state will do to us, but also from a policy standpoint, that the critical piece here is maintaining one of the critical pieces is maintaining current levels of services. And if the county is just paying for it all, the temptation for town after town will be to say, no, the county's doing it. and we don't need to. And we will end up with the same or even less service, but on our financial dime rather than a shared cost, if we don't do it now. And I understand where we are with towns' budget processes as well as our own, but certainly there can be amendments to budgets, and doing it in 2023 before we're in the thick of making this decision, do we turn the switch on, seems like the better course. That was an invitation for comment.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm wondering what our process is for deciding what we want to do. Like, is that something that you all are going to talk about more at public safety? Or, I mean, we talked about it a lot already, but like, how are we going to make that decision?
I mean, I guess if we do nothing, we wait until 2024 and suddenly we're confronted with it and the legislature makes a decision under a lot of pressure.
Right.
I would like to avoid that if we can, but again, I support this resolution, so maybe this is outside of the discussion we should be having at the moment, but it is of concern to me.
Yeah, no, it's a part of it. Mike?
Yeah, I think it's relevant, Rich. I'm glad you brought it up. The report that we had from emergency response had 4 or 5 different possibilities of shared cost. In my opinion, so that we can get to what's on the resolution today, I think, Rich, your committee should propose one of them or some modification of one of them, and it should go to the towns and say, if you want this to go forward and have this in place in 2024, you need to approve it and approve the funding. And I don't know how, until we put them on the spot, they're just going to dance around, and you're exactly right, Rich. They'll see this get started with county money, and they will say, well, we'd just like to see it continue with you paying for it. So that would be how I would like to see that happen. But I agree that we need to pass this shared services thing about that. And I do have a question about the resolution, too.
Thoughts on the process or how we want to go forward? Rich?
Mike, I think that makes some sense, and I think we can certainly put that on the agenda for public safety coming up. I'd again ask for what county administration's view is on public safety doing that. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I think, too, depending upon this, the proceeds from this grant in 2024, the county and the towns could stand to receive some reimbursement for that first year. So that's also something that could be shared with the municipalities.
Lively public safety meeting coming up.
All right. See, that's why I love this committee. We can just
Delegate.
hand things off to other committees. Mike, you had more questions?
I just wanted to ask, Bridget, what is the state requirements on these agreements going forward? Are we stuck with state policy or state law that says we have to do this every year? Is it going to expire at some point? Do we think we can get any funding from this?
So we, as of 2021, I believe, counties are no longer required to submit a shared services plan.
Okay.
They still have to meet with the shared services panel to make the decision on whether or not to submit the plan, but it is no longer a requirement. Your second question, I do not have the answer to in terms of whether or not we will get funding for this.
If there's a pot of money out there?
There is, yes. And I will say that emergency services is ranked 1 or 2 on the list of priorities for shared services. So I think there's a high likelihood we will be able to get some funding for this. I'm just not sure to which degree.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, anything else? We ready to vote? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you. for
Thank
working
you,
on that.
thank you.
Okay. Sorry, I lost track of my pages here. All right. One more resolution for administration. Can somebody please move advocating that the New York State Senate and Assembly support the bill to allow for online publication of public notices, ID 12024. Mike, seconded by Rich. Thank you. And we talked about this last month?
Last month, that's correct.
Last month. The months go by.
They do, they blend together.
They all blend together. Okay, so comments, questions? Mike?
Normally, these resolutions have a list of people we want to receive them, like the governor and the
Right.
people at the assembly and et cetera. So I would like to add the normal list to that.
The final resolved does have a list. If it's not comprehensive, I can certainly make sure it goes with the clerks to additional places.
Okay, but
It is missing the governor per your
okay.
comment.
Well, just be sure that we have everybody.
Okay.
Rich?
I just wanted to mention, I was talking to somebody this past weekend, and they indicated the Ithaca Journal has hired a local reporter. Yes, which I thought was a really positive development.
Yeah, I can just add briefly. They are contract. They have a contract employee, yes, that is doing that. That's been their shift lately, from retained to contract employees for that work.
Okay, but somebody is in the community.
Yep. Which is great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
But not an employee of the,
Not a Gannett employee, to my knowledge. It is a contract employee.
If they're here and, covering things, that's helpful.
I just don't, I hesitate to bring up the journal anymore, but having delivered, when I was a kid, thousands of copies of it, I always have a soft spot for it, including still get the paper.
Yeah.
But I mean, you get front pages with no news, no local news at all. They've begun purchasing news from the Cortland Standard and other newspapers, and I do think, they took all the jobs out of Ithaca, and they're in Rochester now with what jobs there are. So I fully support this resolution.
Yeah. Dan had a couple just word changes that I don't know if would be friendly. He was suggesting in line 13, this is on packet page 64, changing op-ed to opinion piece. I don't know. Doesn't really matter to me, but.
Or formal. So if we want it to be formal, I mean, that is more formal.
Okay. Is that friendly? I can't remember who moved it.
I might have moved. That's friendly.
It's all right.
Okay. And then he also is suggesting farther down in numerous places, changing paper to newspaper. Just, I guess, also to be more clear. Does that work?
Sure.
All right. Any other?
Last week's news next week?
Anything else? Rich?
I was voting in favor.
Oh.
Sorry,
All right,
it's
let's
too
vote.
early.
All
Too
in
early.
favor. That's unanimous. Thank you. Great. Thank you, Dominic. I guess while you're here, why don't we move up the resolution designation of newspaper, since that's what we have to do as well. And that is on packet page 71. And can I have somebody move that?
Second.
Mike, Rich seconds.
Reluctant.
We are designating the Ithaca Journal as our newspaper. Questions, comments? All right, all in favor? That's unanimous. We'll see if that passes the full legislature.
Without speeches.
It almost didn't, or it didn't, right, last year?
Last year,
I
we,
did by one or two.
It was reconsidered. Yeah.
Yeah, we had to like.
Yeah, we had to
some of us,
reconsider it
including
last
me,
year.
wanted to vote against it for a protest, but we realized we had to have it, so we changed our votes.
That was when I was coming to observe before I became the legislature, and it was unanimously rejected, and then it was unanimously voted in.
All right, well, thank you. Great, I think we're good. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Okay, several things for the legislature. Can someone please move resolution, budget adjustment, clerk of the legislature, approval to construct additional office space in legislature chambers, ID 11990. Susan moves, Rich seconds. Katrina or Brittany, do you want to say anything further about this? We kind of talked about it last month, I think, a little bit.
We did, and this was brought before F&I
Okay.
2 weeks ago, and it's to construct an office structure over in the corner over there, and I think Brittany's got a picture that she can share her screen. This was the latest rendering that we received from Sedgwick's earlier this week, and I've spoken with Arel. We want to make one additional change in the top row of glass there, make that more of a frosted color to match the existing structure of the offices. We would move the copier on the other side and purchase a table that complements the furniture in the room. It's more of a workstation. These walls are temporary and they can be removed, so it wouldn't be a permanent fixture over there.
Okay.
There is no ceiling.
That was for HVAC considerations.
And lighting, that was.
Mike?
Yeah, I was just going to say, as Katrina commented, at F&I, we rescinded the previous motion, which we had approved at that committee to put the office in the back, be the southwest corner, and we then passed a resolution to approve this proposal to put it up as you're looking on the screen.
Okay, great.
One other concern that was raised was the public seating, and we've rearranged furniture in here. It would remove 3 seats, but I do believe we can put a couple of them in front of the office, so we might lose 1 or 2 public seats.
Great. Well, looks good to me, and if that works and, makes sense. Rich?
The camera?
We would have to move the camera, and Arel was aware of that.
Where do you put that? Is it going up
I'm not.
closer?
I
Don't
think,
know.
I'm not positive on that, but I do know Arel did speak to about that.
This seems like a reasonable solution to make it work.
It seemed to have the least impact on the room, because we're not going to move the cabinetry with the supplies, and that would be part of just having the office there. You would have those supplies and accommodate the requests for different things. So.
You said these are removable panels.
Yes.
Is there power in them?
I do believe the one wall does have power, the one facing the door, and that's where, like, IT would put their power for computers and everything.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Well, thanks for working on that, and to Facilities Department for working on that as well. Any other questions?
And a comment on line 28. I think there's a missing D after reduce.
And just last question, when would this get underway to make the change?
If this is approved next Wednesday, I do believe about 8 weeks is the time frame.
All right. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Mileage discussion. Here we are again. Let me just sort of preface it by saying we've talked about this one or two times over the years. We did talk about it at expanded budget, and I guess what I'm sort of looking for today is how folks want to move forward, and what, taking what we talked about previously, how do we want to adjust going forward? Okay, so I have Mike and then Susan.
Seems like at expanded budget committee, when we discussed it, we tried to separate the issue of whether it was proper to reimburse the mileage the way we've been doing it, and the issue of whether the reimbursement is income taxable to the recipient. And I think the suggestion made there was that we should get an opinion on the tax issue. I know Deborah said we ought to contact a tax attorney, but I guess I would leave that at the discretion of our Director of Finance and Administrator. But that's how I thought we were going to move forward next, to see the taxability of it.
Okay, I mean, I think that's what was said. And I reached out to Lori and Holly yesterday, and that was, one of you said, yeah, I think that was the recommendation. But I mean, I think we know that it is taxable. I guess I'm not sure what the question is.
I'm not sure it's taxable.
Oh,
That's,
okay. Well, I will look to these three folks to see what they think.
I think in response to the questions that came up, Norma's reached out to a tax attorney, has not heard back yet.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's underway then.
Okay.
That was where my question was. Yeah.
Okay. Rich doesn't want to talk about it.
Everybody should walk.
Yeah.
I may be a little late for meetings.
Yeah, and on a morning like this, I wouldn't be here, so if I had to walk. Okay, well, how do folks want to proceed? I mean, I think what we agreed at the committee meeting was that we needed to make a change. We can't continue the direction that we've been going. Okay, so
I have a question. So
yeah.
Are we looking at eliminating this policy, that there would be no reimbursement for mileage, or is it a change in the rules for reimbursement for mileage?
Yeah, I don't think eliminating it. I think because several folks use it,
Yeah.
It would just be, my understanding is changing the taxability of the various parts, because there's a couple different components.
Thank you. So we need to wait to hear from legal, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, if that's what folks want to do, we'll wait, and you can let us know if you hear anything. All right, well, that was easy. Okay. Let's move the resolution date of 2024 organizational meeting, ID 11964. Mike, seconded by Rich. We would be setting this to January 2nd at 5:30. Questions, comments? All in favor?
So the holiday's the first, right? Okay.
All right, thank you. Let's see, resolution, correction of errors. ID 12017. Can somebody move that? Susan, seconded by Rich. This is the resolution we do every year so that minutes and reports can be fixed as needed. Questions, comments?
I think this is all wrong. Sorry.
You want to correct that error?
We're going to correct your statements. Yeah, you can just go back and change what Rich said. All right, all in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, Robert's Rules of Order. I kind of struggled to find things that we hadn't talked about. So these are just a couple of things, stuff to think about for executive session. I think we kind of follow these Robert's rules. And then the other part about the objection to consider a question, I just thought that was interesting. I didn't even know that you could do that. If you don't even want to talk about it, you could move to not talk about it. So, yeah, any thoughts on Robert's Rules this month? Rich?
Sure, on the executive session, I think the boundary question is always, is this an appropriate matter for executive session? And the temptation, I think, for anybody is to try to say, oh, let's talk about it in executive session and avoid criticism, but I think generally we do a pretty good job that we do not, and the public kind of has to trust us on this, but when we get into executive session, I think we police ourselves pretty well that we're not treading off into other topics. I mean, people call it out, which is really good, but it's easy to do, that you get there and you start meandering. But I think that's always a problem in Robert's Rules or any rule system where you have a non-public session.
Yeah. Other thoughts, comments?
My other comment was objection to the consideration of a question. Yeah, I think I'd never seen it before.
Yeah.
Because we find another way, like withdrawal or whatever, postponement, like we did just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
You don't need to do a formal objection. There's debates we've had where we're well into the thick of it, where this would have looked like a really good idea at the beginning. Too late then.
Right, or I guess, we do tend to have conversations, small numbers of legislators outside of meetings, so we might know how people feel about a resolution, and we may not, need to object when it gets to the floor. But, yeah, it's interesting. Lisa?
This just raises a question back to the Robert's Rules and executive session, back to one of the policies that we just put forward, and that is the consideration of tenants at the Center for History and Culture. Would those discussions be considered executive session items, real estate, or not?
No, I guess if...
Good question.
Yeah.
If we're going to be having them on the floor of the legislature?
Right. I guess if you're, I guess it depends on what kind of information you'd be sharing about those tenants.
Certainly, if you're going to talk about financial resources and internal operation of a not-for-profit, and they're not a public company, it probably could be deemed an executive session item, but I guess I'd turn to our counsel to...
I think it's kind of hard to have a crystal ball and
Microphone?
Sorry. No, I think it's hard to, speculate what types of issues may come up and fall within executive session. I think we would have to wait for the issue to present itself and then see if it fits within these requirements of executive session. But as far as financial information of a nonprofit, isn't that public information anyway?
They do tax returns,
yeah.
but it could be, I could see stuff that shouldn't be made public. But you make a good point, and I think that would be up to the vigilance of the county administrator when the discussion was occurring to say, we're veering into something that I'm uncomfortable disclosing on behalf of this organization. It could be not a financial issue, but a management issue, and say, the strength of the executive director, for example. I don't know.
Right, again.
Crystal ball.
I mean,
Crystal
right,
ball,
right, yeah, I mean, we don't really have a crystal ball to see what
I think it
these.
depends on the circumstances.
Exactly, because I think when you're dealing with not-for-profit organizations, a lot of information is already public, so I think we'd have to determine at that point in time whether something is really going to fit within these specific requirements of executive session, because I think very few things do. I mean, these are pretty tight guidelines as to what you can discuss in executive session.
And you're absolutely right. They file their 999s or whatever, 990s. I can never remember the number. But if a not-for-profit had financial difficulty, talking about that in open session might be an unpleasant and inappropriate thing.
Right, I guess, yeah.
Causes of it.
Like, the Roberts Rules is more, how to decorum, maybe, is the word, versus like the actual list of New York State law of what you can actually go into executive session for. So it would have to fall under those rules.
But I think we can make it fall under that because it's a real estate
That's
transaction.
true, that's true,
Yeah.
real estate.
Thank you for fielding the question. It just came to me, and I wondered if, being that we changed it to that it's going to go through legislature approval, whether we would need to make note of that in the policy, but I think that it's more going to be on a case-by-case basis. So thank you.
I wondered too, I mean, I was thinking when we were talking about that policy, it would be good if and when a lease comes up that we're given that policy again, because I think, a year from now, we're all going to have forgotten we had this conversation. So yeah, that's just a thought. Mike, did you have another?
I was just going to say, I sort of see it a little bit like when we make appointments. Most often, no one has any objection to the appointment, but sometimes if there's some issue we don't know about, some member of the legislature may wish to have an executive session. I would say the same thing. If the chair started hearing comments about a particular not-for-profit that was trying to lease with us, then I think the chair should immediately say it ought to go into executive session.
Okay. Anything else? I would just ask again, like, if there's other Roberts Rules topics you want to talk about, or, yeah, Mike.
Not other ones, but I was just very interested in this objection to consideration of a question. And you're right, we've never used this. But I'm thinking a lot of times we're getting these issues in front of us that we'll have a couple of legislators say, we don't have anything to do with this. This is a national issue. This is nothing having to do with our activities as county activities and budgeting and spending for county programs. So I could see someone saying, moving to not talk about it. We had a very interesting one last meeting where someone could have stood up and said, I object to the consideration of this question. I'd never thought about that before, but they could. And we might get that and then have to take a vote on it. And then if we voted to not consider the question, how does that make us look? Because we've always been pretty open to public comment, certainly, and to the desires of legislators to put forward resolutions that may not be our own policy, but may be commenting on policies of other government, for example. So I just think, I really appreciate you bringing this to us and for something to think about, but maybe we'll have to try it sometime and see what happens.
Let's try it right now. Rich?
It's interesting to me that it says it does not require a second. And I'm not sure there's another Roberts rule I've heard about where you
Well,
make a
point
motion.
of order.
Oh,
You could
right,
just say
point of
order.
information, but
Yeah,
that's really
point of-
just asking a question. This is going
Right.
to lead to a vote,
Yeah.
and,
It's also not debatable.
yeah.
So you
Straight
could
to
make
that
the
vote.
motion, yeah.
It seems like somebody could make this motion, make a prefatory speech, and then make the motion, no second, not debatable, and nobody can argue with them. They just have to vote on it.
Fun.
Well, if you want rancor, yeah.
Yeah. It does say it needs 2/3 vote.
Yes.
So that's, if you're going to make that motion, you might want to know that people are in agreement.
You could also have somebody with a really good counterpoint squirming in their seat on the other side of the room and not able to say anything.
Yep.
Yeah, let's try it. Yeah.
I'm not recommending it, but.
Unfortunately, we don't have any more resolutions today to try it on.
But
All right.
I think that's been one of the most fun things we've done in this committee over this year is talk about Robert's rules, and I really compliment you on bringing them to us.
Yeah, thank you. Great. I'm glad. It's been helpful. I'll take one more look through and see if there's any other things that, additional things that we might want to discuss next month, and then we can just talk about it all again next year. Katrina's like, oh, God.
Actually, staff has learned a lot from the discussions for Robert's Rules also, so thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, great. Well, it has been fun.
As a new member, it was fabulous.
Good. Okay, let's move on. Okay, we're back to the Tompkins County Public Library Advisory Board bylaws review. And I got Dan to make his comments in track changes. That looked good. So you'll see that in there. And then this first sheet on page 79 was Mike's language for, let's see, Article 3, Section 1, based on our conversation last month. So again, we're not going to vote on this because it needs to go back to the Board of Trustees. At our last library trustees meeting, I've been letting them know that we're doing this. They're pretty reluctant to abide by this. And they would like to have a meeting with, I did invite them to this meeting, any of them who wanted to come. Obviously, in morning on a weekday, people have jobs. But they would like to have a meeting as to whether the legislature actually is able to approve their bylaws and whether that's legal. So, yep. Hang on one second. So I did say that I would set up a meeting. I obviously, I didn't give them this document, so they don't know like every specific change, but I did explain that we passed this new advisory board policy. They really don't like that we are calling them an advisory board, and I tried to explain that they are not an advisory board, but that's just, they fall under that policy. That's the name of the policy. They are a separate board. They are a separate entity. We talked about that at our budget meeting with the director, Leslie Tabor. They are governed by several different laws and rules and our charter. So, understandably, it's kind of hard to know where they fall. And I think maybe they've lost sight a little bit of their relationship with the county. So I'm saying all of that because I think that we should look through this, decide if these are changes that we want to make, and then send it back to the board, as well as setting up a meeting for anyone in this committee, but with Holly, maybe Katrina or Brittany, and a couple of the trustees, and they also would like to have their lawyer there. So that's my preface to this. I think, Susan, you want to?
I just wanted to say, so I'm surprised at this. The library has had its bylaws, well, when I was there, we went through this process 2 or 3 times. And yes, the libraries are governed by education law in the New York State Department of Education, library development. But I had the opportunity to have a meeting with Leslie, who had a lot of questions, and I could explain to her the history of the library and that the county actually bought the Cornell Library Association in 1967 and established the Tompkins County Public Library as an agency of the library. So they are a board of trustees governed by the Board of Education, but the library and the county legislature are intertwined. And so there has to be this regular process. We're not challenging anything. We're simply including them in the regular county operations and approvals of minutes, of bylaws. So I did have an opportunity to direct her to some of the central library education law.
Right.
And
yeah.
I'm hoping that she'll have a chance to look at that.
Yeah, and you know, this was a the board was bringing this up. It wasn't necessarily Leslie. The board was questioning whether we have the right to adjust their bylaws. It does say in the county charter that the legislature approves the library's bylaws, and I'm not sure. I guess I'm not sure. Like, I know there's been bylaws revisions in the past, but it's possible that maybe the legislature didn't make any changes. They did just.
They did.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yes.
So
We made, if you look at the bylaws, they have a date on
Right.
the day of each time, and each time those went to Government Operations Committee. I think
So-
too, the thing is that the library is funded by the county, so they're an integral part of it. So
Right,
I
and
think you're right. I think some institutional history has been lost.
What I sort of have tried to explain from my perspective is that, as we've noted several times, any entity that funds the library can't have a voting seat on the board. So we can't have a legislator be a voting member. But because we fund them so much, we need to have oversight, right? Like, we're not just going to give out $4 million and not have any communication. So one of the things that we can do for oversight is approve their bylaws. We also approve the members of the board. So these are 2 ways that we can, be a part of the organization without having a voting member. I think Mike had his hand up, and then Susan.
A couple of things, and just following up on what both of you have said. First of all, I wouldn't think they'd want to bite the hand that fed them. I mean, they never have, and I just think that's straight. If our charter says we can approve the bylaws, that doesn't mean we just give a yes or no vote. Because what if we say no? Then basically the board is not functioning with approved bylaws at that point. I just think that the relationship we've had over the years has been a great one, and I just don't understand what the difficulty is now. We let them recommend to us the people who will be on their board. Having just gone to the Finger Lakes Library Association annual meeting and heard a terrific speaker from Wyoming talk about efforts there to do elimination of certain books in the library. And what had happened was they had political pressure on their county, and they changed the people on the board to be people who were not sympathetic with the kinds of policies that we always have, which are pretty open, and got into huge fights over there. We don't do that. We let them try to help us find people who are interested in the library and who want to make a contribution. They have a large board. They have term limits, and that means sometimes some of their most experienced people have to go off. But I just think we need to continue to work with them and try to make them understand this has been a great working relationship.
Mike, Susan, and then I think Rich.
I just want to say that the county owns the building and provides all of the facilities. So, I mean, they really are intertwined. And I think that's an important thing, and that has worked incredibly well. And in terms of the Board of Trustees, the legislature has to approve the Board of Trustees. So I think, I'm not sure I understand the desire not to have the legislature approve the bylaws, since the Board of Trustees has to be approved by the legislature. So there's something a little out of sync. And I do think, I mean, we'll say I went back as an interim for 4 months. There was so much turmoil during the pandemic. This is sort of the last working out of that, I think. And I was surprised at the amount of lack of knowledge of how the library's history and how it works with the legislature. So I think we're just getting that back in place.
Thanks. Rich?
Yeah, Mike, I like the language you proposed, and I won't repeat all the comments everybody's already made, but I opened our budget book. It's not $4 million, it's $4,071,000 of taxpayer money that we're putting into this public library, which is well spent and, you know, no argument at all. But I think a meeting is really in order. We can't let this just run itself. We're responsible to the taxpayers to have some voice here. And I don't think we've been intrusive or anything else. I don't think we've been a bully. And we shouldn't be. But that's not the history, and I think we got to smooth this over. But yeah, we should.
Yeah, I wanted to come to you all and then talk about, you know, our proposed changes, and then try to set up a meeting with Holly and whoever else we need to talk to. So okay, so let's talk about a couple of these changes. I hope folks have read through them. I had some proposed language under members about adding the county legislature liaison, and Mike did as well. I don't know if folks have thoughts, or you want to go with one or the other, or wordsmith it some more. I can just read what Mike's was. The Tompkins County Legislature shall appoint one of its members to serve as liaison to the Board of Trustees.
I think Mike's is pretty clear.
Yeah.
Functional standpoint.
Okay, so it sounds like we want to add in Mike's language into the place of Article 3, Section 1. What is that, E?
E.
Yeah, so we'll take out what I've written there, and that will be E. I think a lot of Dan's comments were kind of wording, and then he also was kind of noting there was a little bit of discrepancy between what the bylaws say related to budget and what the process actually is. On page 83, number B there, it says the Finance and Personnel Committee shall develop and modify the budget. Well, that's not actually who develops the library's budget. It's the director, right? Yeah. So there was, he was suggesting that get changed, and then under 2, the Finance and Personnel Committee doesn't develop and defend the budget request to the county and the Friends. I think he's suggesting that that gets deleted, because again, that's not really the process.
Well,
Yeah.
I think in connection with the director, they do prepare to present the budget to the legislature, and they don't actually defend a budget request to the Friends, they just send a letter asking.
Right.
Yeah, so,
Right, so the word defend is a little bit.
yeah, it's not, it doesn't,
Odd.
yeah, it's odd, yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Right, and then I think he added on page 84, also about the budget, the director shall present the budget to the Tompkins County Legislature. I mean, that's the process. And then just, I had the comments of mine from previous, just kind of noting our new policy and how that should be aligned. And the two main changes I think that we're asking for are, again, setting a specific number of trustees that will be on their board, and then also setting the time a person has to be off the board until they can come back, changing that to a full term. So I guess other questions, comments, anything you want to change before we send it back? Rich?
I'm fine with all these, but I do like your idea of inviting them to a meeting. They
Yeah.
certainly could come to the next GO meeting and explain to us why they are uncomfortable with what we're suggesting about oversight. Maybe we're wrong for some reason. I don't know what it is, but glad to hear them.
Okay. Mike?
About a meeting, but would it be better to have just a meeting with some of the group before they would inviting them to a GO? Because
That would be fine, too.
a public session sometimes hardens positions.
Yeah, no, that's fine as well.
Yeah, later today or tomorrow, I'll send an email and include Holly and include Katrina and Brittany and send it to a couple of trustees and just see if we can figure out a time that we can get together. Do you want to be in?
I believe that they elect their new board president in November, at the November meeting, so I just wanted to,
Oh, really? It's not December?
it could be December, I mean, maybe.
It would be coming up either way.
Be coming up,
Yeah.
and so I think the current president will be leaving.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think we should take that into consideration.
Yeah, and there was two other folks who will continue on the board who wanted to meet, so they would be good folks to invite. And then if there's maybe any of the other officers that are continuing, I could bring them in as well.
And is that, if it's going to be a separate meeting, is it two of the GO committee members?
Yeah.
And would that be you and perhaps Susan,
Do you
given her
wanna-
knowledge?
I'm happy to come. I don't want to be inappropriate or, I have opinions, but
Probably know it better than few people in the
I'm happy
county.
to come.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. So in the meantime, we'll try to set that up, but should we go ahead with these changes and send it back to them so they know what we're thinking of? And is that, you will do that, Brittany? And, okay. With the change, with Mike's changed language?
I'll send it to this committee first for their blessing and then
Okay,
let you send.
great. Okay, thank you. Okay, anything else on this? Okay, thank you all. I don't think I have a report. So I'm going to look at Lisa. if
Is
you have-
Rachel here for this information item?
Oh, sorry. Are you here for something?
Well, it's here for the resolution in the beginning, and then there's
Oh. Okay, right, so an information item, budget adjustment, county clerk. This is not something we have to approve. Questions on it or anything? Thank you. There's also a budget transfer, county administration monitors for the legislative chambers project, and here's some monitors to look at. Also, we don't have to approve this. Okay, Lisa.
Just an update to say that the strategic planning process continues with Barry Dunn. I'm looking forward to the session this afternoon with legislators in the Public Works Building. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
That's at the Public Works Building?
Yes.
Useful information.
Good to know.
Going to be here.
Okay, maybe we should send out another update. Will you do that, Brittany? Yeah, it will not be here, so come to Public Works at 1 o'clock. And I think there'll be snacks.
There will be lunch.
I'm missing something. What are we talking about?
At 1 o'clock today, our strategic planning session.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to be able to make that.
Okay. I've sent out numerous emails. I hope people got them. Okay, Brittany, or sorry, Bridget.
Oh, that's okay. Yes, just one quick status update regarding our work with 11th House Solutions, which is the grants consultant that the county has engaged with. Over the last several months, they have met with and interviewed all of our departments to get a sense of where each department is at in its capacity to apply for and administer grants. As you can imagine, departments sort of are along a spectrum in their capacity. So they have provided a written document outlining where each department is at, and now we're in the process of working with them to develop a guide or guidance to centralize our grants application, administration, and management processes. We're looking to move grants administration into central administration, county administration's department, likely looking to name somebody within that department to be the grants administrator for the county, but really working with departments to establish workflows around notification of when they would like to apply for a grant and making sure that they meet the requirements of applying for a grant, and then better helping them to develop the tools and training to manage and report on those grants. So we've engaged with our other central administration departments, finance, HR, IT, as well as our planning department, to bring together everyone's experience in grants management, and we'll be, like I said, working with the consultant to come up with grants guidance and a policy around centralized grants administration. I expect more will be coming at a future meeting of GO, so we can give you a better idea of that final work product. And we'll also be hearing from the grants consultant on an actual list of grant opportunities that we could apply for. That is the other component of the work of our work with them. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this point.
We just want to make one more note. As they have been embarking on this process, meeting with departments and us, they have also made themselves readily available for grant opportunities as they come up, for departments to engage with them and provide grant writing assistance. And so that's also been a component of their work.
Rich?
Yeah, I'm really happy to hear this. This was something we put into the 2023 budget, and great to see progress. Is there money in 2024 to continue this?
I don't know if there's money in the budget, but we'll likely be, we won't have expended all of the money that was allocated for this.
Yes, our contract with 11th House will continue into probably half of 2024.
So if we get it operating and it seems to be really working for us, what do we do in the second half of 2024?
I think one of the aims of working with 11th House was to do an inventory, a status update of our capacity, and to give us guidance to strengthen our own infrastructure and capacity. So hopefully we'll be further along in that process, and we'll be able to, I think they would be open, and we could continue to contract with them on a as-needed basis for, very timely assistance with grant writing.
Certainly, if this looks like it's developing positively, one of 14 would be interested in getting a budget adjustment request from you guys to say, let's make this work, because I'd hate to have us make progress and then stop.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Bridget? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
County Attorney, Holly, any updates?
No real updates. We did contract with a real estate attorney this week to help with the real estate matters that we have pending and coming up. Other than that, we remain busy and look forward to having a new county attorney hired.
Definitely, thank you. Questions for Holly? All right. Director of Finance, Lori.
I don't have any updates today.
Okay, thank you. Dominic, Communications Director.
Hello, I have 2 additional updates for you today. One is, and you already talked a little bit about the budget adjustment for the screens. We placed these 2 in the center, just they were delivered. They're not connected yet. We're working through everything with the vendor so that it'll be a seamless ability to run all of our meetings. We had a great conversation with Katrina and Lauren and ITS about managing the system moving forward and how we'll transition from executive session, removing this screen that's on the stand at the end. You'll see the mount facilities has been installing there for the large 98-inch screen, which has also been delivered and is in process of being installed. So I'm really hoping within the next month or so, when we receive all of the design and programming from our vendor, that we'll be able to fully use the new system. So we're very excited about that. These screens are slightly larger than the test screen that we used just to show a proof of concept before. But since that's a change we've talked about here, I wanted to see if there were any questions on that topic before I give other updates.
Mike.
Did these get warm? I just kind of wonder if they're going to do any damage to the woodwork.
It's a great question. We can check in with our vendor. I haven't experienced that with any of the other monitors that we have. We have quite a few of those monitors, which are installed in different areas of the county, and we haven't experienced that. But yeah, we'll check in with the vendors.
We spent an awful lot of money for this, and I
course.
wouldn't want to see that have any damage to it.
Yeah, interfacing with the desk itself has been not a part of anything we want to do. So I agree with you.
So the screen that's going up back there, is that size of the screen?
It is larger than that size.
Larger than
I believe that is 76-inch corner to corner. This is going to be 98-inch corner to corner. So it is another, I can't do that math off the top of my head.
This one's 86.
86, so another 12 inches corner to corner larger back there. And slightly different screen material, so it'll be even brighter than what you're seeing at the end of the screen here.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for making that all happen. Yeah.
When will this go away?
As soon as we're able to turn on the new system. And the current plan for we're managing the executive sessions from the closed system here when there's a virtual attendee for those. We're retaining that ability. Think of an example where an attorney may need to join, but they may not need to travel to Ithaca. You'd save that amount of money. So it hopefully will be savings over time. We're going to be using the already installed screen over there for the executive sessions. You'll still be able to view virtual attendees in the way you normally would, but the clerks would be able to use that computer because there has to be a transfer from Rob's computers upstairs when you go into executive session to a computer down here for the clerks to handle, so it's completely closed. And there'll be the programming I was mentioning earlier. There are some control panels around the room. Those control panels will have an option where someone will be able to click executive session. It will it will switch from Rob's system to Katrina's system with that. So that's part of why we need to wait to remove this, because we need to be able to retain that executive session ability with the microphones and audio connection through the system.
Great.
Thanks. And sorry.
No, go ahead.
My other quick update is I gave everyone on the committee copies, and I've left additional copies over near the mailboxes, and I'll work with the clerks to find a more permanent spot for them for you all. 2 documents. One, and I sent this via email to the legislature as well, and we just announced it to the public via press release. There's a mailer about county services and information that'll be going out to around 44,000 mailboxes in Tompkins County. That covers nearly all, if not all, residences, every mail route through the Postal Service's direct mail service. We've done this on several specific initiatives in the past: the 988 system, Siren, COVID vaccines, and we did a specific one for the city of Ithaca around flood zones. But this is a new approach to advertising the county's information and services. We hear frequently that the county should be doing more to inform the public about what services we offer. And so this year I've examined all the different services that are offered and available through our website or other materials from our departments, engaged with all of our departments for things that they're interested in sharing out to the public, and put together this mailer. So on the front of it is a listing of services broken out into 5 different areas, and on the back is a resident checklist as well for things that residents should keep in mind and engage with from things the county does or funds. So yeah, I just wanted to let you know that this is supported in the budget this year, and then there's money to do a similar effort again next year. I think it's a great tradition for us to do, and it pairs with a new web page around our services as well. I presented to this committee some details around how people were navigating our website, and that really influenced how this came to be, and this new Tompkins County /services web page. So that's the one piece, and the second piece is a normal print size resident checklist, and these will be available at all the county offices as well for people. I think of the example of someone coming to get a certificate of residence at finance. I'm hoping they'll walk away with a resident checklist of things that they'll be able to do or check into. And I do intend to update this information over time and use this baseline to begin our new website development in the way we talk about what we offer and how residents can engage. So yeah, I just wanted to update you on that, since that's been a very big initiative on admin's end, and it's been really fun to work on and explore what we have to offer the public.
That's great. I think it's nice that Tompkins County's shape is relatively square, so
Yes.
the little check boxes.
It does make a great checkbox.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If we were like long and skinny, it wouldn't work.
Not if we were Key or Seneca County, it wouldn't work.
Well, thank you so much for working on this. Questions or comments for Dominic? Mike?
I just think it's terrific to, whatever we can do to alert county residents as to what we do is sorely needed.
Thank you, Mike.
Rich?
And I apologize, I have to run out the door, but I'm happy to be here to say this is super. I was thinking it might be nice to squeeze the sheriff in somewhere, but because there's so much useful information on their website. But, I compare this to what you see coming from our state representatives on an off year when they're not up for election, and it's campaign material. It's them shaking hands with somebody and a lot of platitudes. This has actionable information for residents that will really help them. This is well done.
Thank you. I've saved and read every single political mailer that I've received since I came up with this idea, and used exactly what you're describing, trying to avoid that that structure where people will see it as something different. So I appreciate you recognizing
Yeah,
that.
and we, the taxpayers, pay for it, which
Yes.
drives me crazy.
Yeah.
But yes.
But it also looks good. I mean, this is eye-catching, and it's, you know, they're going to look at it before they throw it away.
Yeah, exactly.
But hopefully they'll put it on their fridge. And,
Yep.
you know, it's got all those links, so it's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Hopefully.
I think it's fantastic. I love it.
Thank you.
And I just wondered, are you distributing it around in buildings too, having it? I mean, I can see all of the libraries in the county have, you know, giving, because people ask for this kind of information all the time at libraries, and at the History Center as well.
Yeah, we'll make sure the History Center was not on my initial list, though they are listed on here under civic engagement. The libraries have been very supportive of this from the beginning. All of the materials internally are being sent via interoffice mail to departments. The health department, or whole health, sorry, and Office for the Aging have both already begun distributing to clients some of the information. And there are copies for legislators as well. I'll ensure libraries have them. And one small note on the links. All the links on the front page or on this document are short URLs through something that we can track the clicks specifically to those. So next meeting, it delivers over a couple weeks, so it might be the data might be a little off, but within the next few meetings, I'll bring to you a list of the most popular services clicked to from the mailer being delivered to people in their mailboxes, so we can see what people are interested in.
Yeah. Great. Any other questions for Dominic about this or anything else? Mike?
You and I've mentioned this. We are not putting out on cable the replays of our meetings. Apparently, there's an equipment issue or something. Maybe you know about it. Wondered when we're going to commence that again, and could there be a slide that we show on Channel 15 that says we're working on this, and they'll be coming back to alert the folks that we're doing that.
Thanks for bringing that up. Yes, on the slide, that is an excellent idea, and I know Rob's listening to the meeting, so he's got the slide structure to build that out. So I'll make sure that that's running as soon as possible. It is an equipment issue and a connection issue for the replays that go out. I know that Rob has connected with the vendor. We've spoken with them, and they're working through that solution. My hope is that it'll be fixed in the next couple of weeks so that the replays are able to run. And once that system is fully up and running in the way for cable that we'd like it to, and those replays are airing, I will say one of my intentions is, we mention our YouTube channel a lot. When we're confident that the cable replays are running, I'd like to always be mentioning those two things in concert with one another. So it's that we're streaming them, but we're also airing them and broadcasting them there. We haven't been able to do that in the past because it's been a little slightly inconsistent, or that channel had outdated information during the day, but now we've gone through and we've put in systems so that all of the slides that do play are updated information and relevant to the county and our partners. So yes, I'm excited to do more with that program, and I'm hoping that that's solidified in the next several weeks.
Is WENY still repeating our meetings?
Not to my knowledge.
Were for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rob's shaking.
Yeah. I don't believe that they are, that they're doing that anymore.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll look forward to getting this in the mail. Any updates or reports from committee members? Mike?
I just thought I'd mention that the county attorney search interview committees are going to be held next week.
Right, yes, and legislators are invited to participate in those. Okay. Anything else before this committee today? Thank you all. You're all wonderful. And I hope to see many of you, some of you at 1 o'clock. We are adjourned. Thank you.